Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're here with the first installment of your June Saints.
Now, the last couple months, we've had important themes going with our saints. The same is true. Jess, what is this month's theme?
This month, after we did names that even I could mostly pronounce, we're going to go with names you've likely known no one that has. And I will note, I tried getting rid of ones that are probably really popular in other countries and we just don't see here. But this is very, America, Canada, North American type thing.
Yeah, Anglosphere. Yeah. Well, for example, there are lots and lots, no matter your age, you know several Mikes.
Yep.
We have two at work, so we have to label one by his last name, and one's Mike and one's Michael.
That's happened to me.
Depending upon your age, you probably know anywhere from 1 to 3 Thomases.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Nate's sister is expecting a baby, and his aunt was going on about names, and, as a elementary school teacher, important things to think of. And she was talking about, things, and I just wanted to point out the fact that, but you don't want it too popular. We had 3 Jessicas in my kindergarten class.
Mm-hmm.
There was Jessica. I got to be Jessie. And a third one was Gussica, because she had a little sister who always called her, Gussie. Uh-huh. And so, therefore, they're like, we need another Jessica. Oh, okay, that works. You can go by your nickname.
Yeah. No, like, when we were kids, if you were a kid named Max, you would be the only Max. My brother teaches in a school. He knows a ton of Maxes.
But when we were kids, you probably would have had a couple Jennies.
All the Jennies.
Yeah.
Half the girls were named Jennifer.
Mike's definitely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys' names tend to not rotate as
much. And variations of Roberts.
Mm-hmm. Although I was in high school before I met a kid who went by Bob. So all the Roberts were Robbies.
Mm. I knew a Bobby.
Sure. I have 2 uncles named Bob. I just didn't know any kids until I was in high school.
Yes, but anyway, these are saints. They have names.
We've drifted a little far. These are names you won't find.
You won't find them.
Name these.
No.
So if you're pregnant and you want to have a kid that will never be able to find the pencil, the little bookmark, the license plate with their name on it, here are some suggestions.
Need more Bort license plates. Yes, my son is also named Bort. So, we start right on June 1st with, half a dozen saints?
How about that?
Here we go. Nate.
Oh, okay. You started out, so I figured.
Right.
But first one on our list of June 1st ones, Saint Caprasius, also known as Caprais. We don't know when they were born, but they died 430. They were a hermit and the founder and founder from Provence, France, who then moved to Greece.
Huh.
Yep. Also on the first, we have Saint Firmus, who died in 290. He was martyred under Maximian. See, it should be Maximilian.
Well,
I'm getting a time machine, and I'm giving the Roman emperors that were horrible people easier to pronounce names, so when we go through the martyrs, it's easier.
Except for Nero. We're going to make his name harder.
Someone can comment about how you're not going to save the martyrs? No. Changing emperors' names.
The martyrs would not want me to.
No.
Use the example of St. Ignatius of Antioch.
Look, in order for the church to grow, as we've learned, in many cases, it needs to be watered by the blood of the martyrs.
This is how the Lord has chosen to conform them to himself. Who am I to interfere? I just want to be able to pronounce this D-bag's name.
Mm-hmm.
Then, maybe go back and just cause a fair bit of trouble, just for funsies.
Just stir the pot.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, on June 1st, we have Saint Reverianus. Died in 272, a bishop, martyred under Aurelian. Also a jerk.
Yep, that guy was a jerk, and he needs a shorter name. Let's call him Ori. Next, we have Saint Secundus. Died.
He was the second.
Yeah. Yeah, his brother, his older brother was
Primus.
Saint Firstus. Oh, yeah, Saint Primus.
No, I like Firstus.
Saint Firstus.
Then he had another brother, Saint Bestus.
Saint Secundus died 304, was thought to have been drowned in the Tiber. But the big question is, if he was drowned in the Tiber, what did they just drown him, or did they put him in a bag with the beast?
Given that this is 304 and Tiber is the river that runs through the imperial capital, seems likely.
Yeah.
Seems likely.
So
Next.
he's in a trunk with a tiger.
Possibly. A trunk with a tiger and a Tiber. Yes.
Yes.
Next, we have our
Welsh
first
name!
Welsh name! St. Telga, patron of a church and well in Swede, Wales. Nothing else is known of this individual.
Yep.
I don't even know if it's a man or a woman.
No.
Nope.
With that ending in A, I would think it's a female, but it's Welsh, so I don't know.
The one thing I know is that despite how that word is spelled, it's not Swede.
No. It's probably pronounced block.
Yeah.
Ciwyd. Chewy?
I don't know. And then,
It's Welsh! I don't know!
but we do have one more on the first. Saint Theobald. He died in 1150. He's a patron of showmakers in
Port?
I think it's supposed to be port wine.
Oh, no, the port I understand. I'm not sure what a show that he's making is.
This might have been an autocorrect issue. So he's a patron saint of at least two things.
Possibly shoemakers?
Yes, that makes more sense. It was
Shoemakers
what I
and
typed.
port.
Shoemakers and port.
Port.
I like it because I like shoes and I like drinking. Shoemakers and port.
Now,
Really big shoe.
now on the 2nd of June, we just have one. But this one has a name. I don't know why, but I feel I must recommend this as a child's name.
'Cause it's a Welsh name.
It's a Welsh name. Saint Bodfan. It's spelled Bodfan.
It's almost like an online username.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Bod fan.
Yep.
And then just a string of numbers.
Bod fan 37825.
They died in the 7th century. They were a patron of Ahern, Gwynred, Wales.
In fact, it'd be great if you had like twin boys. One could be Bodfan and the other could be Cadfan. All the Welsh names.
Here, I thought you were going to go with Bodfan and Secundus.
No, because you don't want to give...
It's not on theme, but it works.
But the one named second is definitely going to have an inferiority complex.
Bodfan and his sister Telga.
There you go. So, on June 3rd, we've got Saint Cronan. Died 617, a.k.a. the Tanner. Was a disciple of Saint Kevin. Nothing else is known about him.
They probably were a tanner, but, beyond that, who knows?
And it's Cronan, not Conan.
Although that's also...
Not Croner.
Although Conan is also a pope.
A Barbara Pope?
Probably.
I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this next one off of Jess because that feels.
Jess could do the end.
Yes, Jess could do the end. Next on the 3rd, we have Saint Glushallaich, who died in the 7th century, was a hermit, and also was a disciple of
Saint Kevin. So you probably knew the first guy.
Yep. And I feel like he's from Ireland.
Probably.
That feels like an Irish name.
Glushallaich.
Yeah.
As does Kevin.
Yes.
Good old Saint Kevin. Also on June 3rd, rounding it out, we have Saint Liphardus. Died 550, a judge that became a hermit and had so many disciples that he was ordained and founded a monastery.
Yes, like, it appears to be the story was he didn't want to become a priest. They're just like, okay, you've got so many followers, you need to be officially a cleric, and this needs to be in order.
Oh no, this is totally common.
Like, once upon a time, you had a following. What you have behind you there is a congregation. I don't know if you're aware of this or not.
And you know what that congregation needs? They need a leader. So we're going to ordain you. Shouldn't have been so popular. Sorry.
Then we have one on June the 5th. Saint Waccar, who died in 770. He was a martyr and a companion of a Saint Boniface.
55.
755. We're back on the numbers are hard.
It's getting close to the time when she needs to go get her prescription checked.
Martyr. Maybe she's the guy who carried St. Boniface's axe.
Ooh.
In a little car. They didn't have cars yet.
Well, a car is like, a cart, sure.
June 6th, we have St. Eustorgius II, who died in 518. They were the Bishop of Milan and were known for ransoming people who had been captured by barbarians.
That is a good and holy thing to do. So, your kid could be Saint Eustorgius III.
Yeah. I mean, there might be more, in there somewhere. But as far as we're concerned, your kid is the third.
Are there as many...
Until provided with contradictory evidence.
Are there as many Eustorgiuses as there are Anastasiuses?
That takes a lot.
All the Anastasi.
On June 8th, which this year is Pentecost, we have Saint Muircha, a.k.a. Maccutinus, died in the 7th century, wrote on the lives of St. Brigid and St. Patrick. So most likely yet another Irish saint.
Mm-hmm. On the 10th, St. Bardo.
Now that's one I should have called.
Died 1053, a Benedictine Archbishop of Menz.
Bardo.
I hope he likes singing. Or strumming a little lute.
La, 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 la. Also on June 10th, we have Saint Bogumilus. Born in 1135, died in 1182, an archbishop, the founder and patron of the Archdiocese of, not even going to remotely get this right, Generzo, Poland.
Only 47 years.
But, I mean...
It wasn't
a founder of a diocese, an archbishop, busy life.
It was 47 years in the 12th century, though. So, I mean...
Mm-hmm. But no, you're right. Not a long life. And, close to my age, so haunting.
And once again, we've ended up on one that I'm too much of a gentleman to make just try, because I'm probably gonna get this one wrong. Saint Tochmura, was an Irish virgin, patron of women in labor.
Ooh, that's one I should remember.
Yes, it is an interesting story because
Tochmura.
The two facts we have about her do not make any sense together. But
no. Hey, who is the patron saint of pregnant women? Saint Gerard Magella.
Yeah,
just go with it.
Yeah. Anyway, and the feast day was June 11th.
Maybe she was a midwife or something.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. My apologies.
She really cared about women, and she was one of those saintly people who was like, I am dying and going to become a saint because I'm so saintly, and everyone's like, we totally agree. And she's like, and I will help protect all the women in labor because back then it was very, very dangerous.
Well, and maybe she is she really, really wanted kids, and her cross was that the Lord had called her to a life of virginity.
Perhaps.
On June 13th, and I'm also going to badly mispronounce this.
Which is sad, because this sounds like such a fun name.
Saint Damhnade, an Irish virgin, about whom nothing else is known.
All right, the way you pronounce it doesn't sound as fun.
And on the 14th, we're ending part 1 with a Welsh name.
It's a Welsh name, and I think after all the ones I have stolen from her,
she can do this.
She can do this one.
Mm-hmm. All right, Saint Dogmael?
Yeah.
That's how I would have gone with.
If you swap 2 letters, it becomes Dogmael. But
but it's not that. Died in the 6th century, was a monk, known for preaching in Wales and Brittany, France.
Nice. Goes with Brittany is Little Britain. Lots of connections there between the Isles and that part of France.
Mm-hmm.
So there is your first half of the Saints for June, whose names you have probably never heard on a living person before.
But holy men and women who you could consider naming your kid after, because you don't want them to have to go by some weird nickname or be known as their last name.
I mean, I would not suggest the last one because, again, if you switch 2 letters, it's St. Dogmael.
Oh, come on. It's going to be great.
Kids are cruel.
They're going to be cruel regardless.
Don't give them an easy one.
You should give them the last one that Mike did, because I would have pronounced that Saint Damhnade.
It totally could be Damhnade.
I'd had a hyphen or something in that, to make it clearly to note that that's how you want it to be.
All I know is
I just see a whole bunch of kids who are starting to say something in class. They get yelled at by the teacher, and then they get to pull off the shaft moment. Mm-hmm. I was just talking about Damhnade.
Mm-hmm. Hi. Yeah. Listen, I know how to spell Siobhan. I know how to pronounce Siobhan. I don't know how you get from one to the other, though.
No.
So, Irish names. I apologize. I'm a quarter Irish, but I can't pronounce them.
I assume it's probably something much like how Polish names are bad because they should have used a different alphabet but didn't. Like, maybe there was a traditional Irish, denoting of things that would make much more sense than the alphabet we're using.
Yeah.
And I wasn't suggesting that you got it wrong. I simply like names that you can factor curse words into.
Absolutely.
Or vulgarity, I should say, into.
I'm the one thing that I probably got it wrong. Yours is much more fun.
All
It's
right.
much more fun.
So
those are the saints for
June.
first half of June. Tell us, are there any other saints with very obscure names?
Perhaps you happen to have a saint with whom you have a. It's a word. You have a
Devotion?
devotion to
Action?
that has a little herd that has an oft little herd name.
Do you know any kids named Clotinga?
Clotinga.
do you know a secret third way to mispronounce this Irish saint's name?
Can you butcher these names worse than we do? Give us this episode a like, subscribe to our channel to be notified the next time we butcher the names of holy men and women. Subscribe to our channel, and until next time.
Remember to love your faith.
It's
No,
what-
live your faith. Yes.
Love
Don't
your
love,
faith.
yeah, don't love it yet.
Your faith.
And share that love. That was the worst one we've ever done.
Yeah, even our first ones were worse.
Remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love. Hey! Year
It's
8.
gonna be a long summer.
Year 8, we finally got it.
When the saints go marching in, yes, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching